Hello and welcome to the explainer. In Arabic, the smallest tweak to a word, like just doubling a single letter, can change everything. It can turn a simple action into a full-blown profession. Today, we're going to unpack these powerful patterns that add incredible depth to the language. You'll see how a tiny change in a word's structure creates a massive shift in its meaning.
Okay, let's just dive right in with these two words. At a glance, they look almost the same, right? But in terms of meaning, they are worlds apart. On the left, you've got ad-darib, which just means the striker. Simple enough. But on the right, ad-darab. Now that means the relentless striker. See the difference? One is a label, the other is a story of intense, repeated action. So what's the secret sauce here?
Well, what's going on is a really cool concept called al-Mubalagha. Think of it as a grammatical tool that takes a regular doer of an action and turns them into a super doer. It just cranks the meaning all the way up to 11.
So, here's the key takeaway. This isn't just about doing something once. al-Mubalagha tells you that an action is being done like all the time, or with incredible skill, or maybe even as a profession. It's the difference between someone who bakes a cake and a baker.
So how does Arabic pull this off? Well, it's not magic. It's all about patterns. The language takes a word's basic three-letter root and plugs it into these supercharged templates, which are called alzan. You can think of them as engines of emphasis, just waiting to power up a word. Let's break down some of the most common ones.
First up is the fa'alun pattern. You can almost hear the emphasis on that middle letter, right? Fa'alun. That little bit of extra stress is the key. This pattern usually tells you that an action is done over and over and over again, or that it's actually someone's job.
And what's so cool is the sheer range of this one pattern. It can describe a divine attribute, like Ghaffar, not someone who just forgives, but the oft-forgiving. And in the very next breath, it can describe everyday jobs, like a khabbaz, a baker who bakes again and again, or a khayyat, a tailor. The pattern itself screams repetition and profession.
All right, next up we have the fa'ulun pattern. This one has a totally different feel, doesn't it? It feels a little, smoother, more profound. It's less about how many times you do something and way more about the sheer quality and intensity of the act itself.
Yeah, this pattern is all about doing something with your whole being. Take Shakur. This isn't just someone who says thanks. This is someone who is intensely, deeply grateful. Same thing with Ghaffur, the very forgiving. It implies a kind of forgiveness that's just vast and all-encompassing. It's all about quality, not quantity.
Now for our third key pattern, falan, which shifts the focus again. This one isn't so much about an action, it's more about a state of being. And usually it's a temporary state that has become totally overwhelming. It's reached an extreme.
This pattern just perfectly captures a feeling that completely takes you over. We've all been there with atshan. That's not just, I could use a sip of water. No, that's that desperate, all-consuming state of being extremely thirsty. And the same for kaslan. Not just a bit lazy, but someone who is in a state of profound, overwhelming laziness.
And this Fallon pattern gets even more interesting, believe it or not. It actually has its own little set of grammatical rules depending on who or what you're talking about. It's a really elegant system when you see it laid out.
So you see, the word form itself actually changes. For the masculine, it's falan, like atshan. But for the feminine, it shifts to fala. So a very thirsty woman would be atsha. And for the plural, it follows its own unique pattern, becoming atash. It's just a beautifully structured little system.
Okay, so we've got the theory down. Now let's see how these supercharged patterns bring this incredible depth and nuance to verses from the Quran. This is really where these concepts just pop off the page and come to life.
Let's start with this verse about justice. Now, the key here is the specific Arabic word that's used for oppressor. And as you can probably guess by now, it's not the simple basic form of the word.
The word they use is zalam, which is on that fa'al pattern we just talked about, the one for repetition. So the verse isn't just saying Allah is not an oppressor, it's saying Allah is not someone who repeatedly or greatly oppresses. That pattern just amplifies the meaning and makes the negation so much more powerful.
Okay, in this next example, the children of Israel are describing the people living in a land they've been commanded to enter. Just listen to the fear and the awe in how they describe them. They use the word jabareen, which is the plural of jabar, and what pattern is jabar on? You guessed it, fa'al again. So they aren't just saying, hey, the people there are strong. No, they're describing an overwhelmingly powerful, tyrannical force, people whose very nature is to impose their will through immense strength.
And for all you grammar nerds out there, here's a fun little tidbit. That "een" ending on jabbereen, it isn't random. It's there because the word is in the accusative case, acting as an adjective describing the people. It just goes to show you how precisely these powerful words are woven into the fabric of the grammar.
Let's check out another verse. This one points out two key qualities you need to have to recognize the signs of God. And you guessed it, it's not using the simple everyday adjectives.
Oh, this is a beautiful example of two different patterns working together. The verse doesn't just say patient and grateful. It sets a much higher bar. It uses sabur, built on that repetitive fa'al pattern, to describe someone who is supremely patient, through trial after trial. And it pairs it with shakur, on that intense fa'ul pattern, for someone who is profoundly and deeply grateful. Just amazing.
And for our last one, let's look at a verse that describes a general human tendency. Once again, the choice of words is so deliberate, so powerful, using two different intensive forms right next to each other.
This is a really powerful combination. First, you have zalum on the fa'ul pattern, suggesting not just a single injustice, but a great capacity for it. And then it's paired with kafar on the fa'al pattern, suggesting a habitual, repeated state of being ungrateful. Together, they paint this incredibly specific and potent picture of a human weakness.
So after seeing all these examples, what's the big takeaway? What's the point we should really be walking away with here?
It's this. In Arabic, the structure of a word is just as important as the letters inside it. By just shifting a word from a simple pattern to an intensive one like fa'al or fa'ul, you create a seismic shift in its meaning. You fundamentally change the story that word is telling.
So how does knowing this change the way you hear the language? Well, it unlocks a completely new layer of meaning. You start to appreciate the precision and the power that's baked into every word, not just in scripture, but in everyday Arabic. You start to hear the intensity, the repetition, and the poetry in places you never even noticed it before.